What if the US president might help Canada to break apart? Not by force, but by choice. What if a part of Canada wanted to leave on its own to separate its borders and quietly ask Donald Trump for help? This is no longer just a wild idea. It is already happening in the broad daylight. A separatist group in Canada called Alberta Prosperity Project wants the province of Alberta to become an independent country. And yes, they have already met US officials in the Washington. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. So, what is really going on there? Well, let me tell you that this Alberta suddenly is at the center of the global attention. And let us know why. Alberta is in the West Canada. It is rich of oil, very rich. In fact, Alberta produces about 84% of all the crude oil that is needed in Canada. That is why many people call it the energy province. It is massive in size, almost big as Texas. Almost 5 million people reside there, live there, and now this movement itself is in the global headlines. The Alberta Prosperity Project has been approved to collect the signatures. They want a referendum, a public vote. The goal was simple, just to leave Canada and become a new country. Not to join US, well, not yet as of now, but just to walk away. The group says Alberta has been treated unfairly for years. They pointed out 3 main problems. First, the climate policy. Canada's federal government wants to cut the fossil fuels. Alberta depends on the oil and basically to survive. While the separatists say that green rules are killing the jobs. They say Ottawa does not understand Alberta. Second is money. They argue Alberta sends billions in tax money to federal government but gets less in return. They believe that the wealth supports other provinces while Alberta gets blamed for pollution. Third, last but not the least, Alberta is mostly conservative. Eastern Canada is more liberal and has more voters, while separatists say that decisions can be made far away and Alberta's voice gets ignored almost always. So now comes the major factor. Leaders of this separatist group have met the US State Department officials. That alone shocked the Canadians. Then a comment made this worse. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Alberta is now a natural partner for America. He praised his resources, he praised the independent spirit. And you know what? These words spread faster than you think. Suddenly people asked about the dangerous questions. Is US encouraging this just because of its own benefits? The White House tried shutting down it quickly. Officials said that the meetings meant nothing and no support was promised. But the signal was already out there. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney stepped in. He warned the US to respect the Canadian sovereignty. Others leaders were actually furious. The leader of British Columbia said reaching out to Washington looked close to the treason. Many Canadians felt that this was a red line and the Canada must stay united, especially against the pressure of Donald Trump. But Alberta is divided. The province's premier, Danielle Smith, has a friendly relation with Trump and the Republicans. Last year, she even visited Trump at the Mar-a-Lago Club, and other Canadian leaders refused to meet him, but she did not. The visit sent a message that Trump has almost made comments about Canada becoming the 51st state, and maybe Alberta is first in the race, and most Canadians were outraged by this. But Alberta separatists were not. They see Trump as the pro-oil, anti-regulation, and willing to shake up the borders. Last year, separatist rallies looked very similar, very familiar. Red hats, raging meek, Alberta great again, shirts saying Alberta Republic. And it looked like MAGA just in the northern border. So, how real is this moment is? An independence, a vote, and this could happen as early as it could fall. But numbers matter. January poll showed that 28% of the Albertans supported independence. Well, that means most still want to stay in Canada. Experts say leaving would actually be a nightmare because new borders would be needed, new trails, new trade, new money, and even passports. Everything all of a sudden juggled up, and there is now a promise of US would help. Still, the story is bigger than Alberta. It shows something deeper: anger at elites, anger at climate rules, and anger at distant powers. Also raises a scary question: if a province can ask for help from another country, what stops others from trying? And should foreign leaders be involved into the country's division, where Alberta feels powerful because of oil but trapped by the national rules? Canada feels united but also stressed. So, is this just noise or the first crack of a stable country? And if it crack grows, who benefits? US, Alberta, or Canada? Tell me what you think in the comments.